Okay, so I have done some videos before about Pythagoras, but I focused on just finding the short length or the longer length. The reason why I'm doing this one is just mixed because some people do get confused on which method to use sometimes. So I thought I'd do a couple of those just to show you like what things to look out for. At the end, I have also included a bit more of a complex question where you've actually got to use Pythagoras twice. So I thought I'd add that one in as well just to push the people that are finding Pythagoras quite easy. So starting with this, I have added the formula at the top if you weren't sure or like you weren't confident in what the formula was. Now the key part of doing these, especially with this but also on trigonometry, you have to label it right. If you don't label it right, then you're going to get the whole question wrong. Okay, even if you do roughly know what you're doing. So always start with labelling the C. So C is the longest side. Now people say, yeah, well, how do you know it's the longest side? True, you're not sure, but it is always the longest. And a way to work out whether it's the longest on these triangles is it's always the side that's opposite the right angle. Okay, so I always draw an arrow going straight from the right angle to whichever side, which is this X side, and then I'm going to call that C. Okay, so if you're someone that just struggles to label, that's my advice. Just draw an arrow from the right angle and see what side it takes you to, and that will be your C. Now A and B, it doesn't actually matter which way round they go. I always make the bottom one A and the side B. I don't know why, it's just something I've always done. So yeah, so they're the things, and then after that all you do is sub it into the formula. So I always start off with writing the formula. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and I just replace the numbers. So A is 6, so it's going to be 6 squared, plus B is 7, so 7 squared, and that's equal to C, which is X, so it'd be X squared. Okay, and then we just carry on like normal. So 6 squared is 36, plus 49 is equal to X squared. The numbers are next to each other, so we can just add them together. So it's going to be 85 equals X squared, and then square root 9.2-ish. Okay, so square root of 85. Okay, click SD, and yeah, not far off, 9.2. X equals 9.2, what are the units? Centimetres. Okay, and that's the final answer for that one. So for EG2, I'm going to do a very similar thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is just label it. So start at the right angle, draw an arrow, see what side it goes to, which is that one. So that must be your C. Okay, the other two, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to call the Y the A and B the 9. Okay, again, write the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and then sub it in. So A is Y, so it's just going to be Y squared. B is 9, so 9 squared. C is 10, 10 squared. Okay, and then we square the numbers. So Y squared plus 81 equals 100. Now the numbers aren't on the same side as each other, okay, so we've got the 81 that's with the Y squared. So this is the one where we're going to have to subtract 81 from both sides to get the Y squared on its own. So Y squared equals 19, and then we can square root the answer. 4 point something. So square root of 19. 4 point, let's round it to one decimal place, that'll be 4.4. 4.4 centimetres. Okay. So the last one. So we're starting with this first. So our aim is that we need to find the length of X. Okay. Now the issue is if we're just focusing on the right hand triangle, so this one here, when using Pythagoras, you need at least two sides. So if we're looking for this one, it means we need to know the length of that, but we also need to know the height there. But the issue is we don't know what that is, but we can work it out because if we're looking at the left triangle, we've got 2 of the sides, so it means that we can then work out the missing one. So I'm just going to call this y, just because x is already being used. So I'm going to focus on the left-hand triangle, the one that I've called number 1. Okay, move it up just a tiny bit. Okay, so again, we label the sides. So the right angle's here, arrow going out, so that means that the 10 must be your C. Okay, A and B doesn't make a difference. Remember, I always go for the A on the bottom. So write out the formula and then sub in. So A is 6, B is Y, C is 10. Okay, square the numbers. So 36 plus y squared equals 100. Now the numbers aren't on the same side, so we are going to have to subtract that 36 from both sides to get it away from the y squared. So we get y squared is equal to 64. And then we can square root it, so that's y equals 8. So that's a nice one. Okay, so that tells us that the height here must be 8 centimetres. So from there on, I'm just going to write the A here. So now we can focus on the right-hand triangle, or triangle number 2. Okay, so we've got now 8 on the bottom and 8 as the height. So again, let's start off with labelling. So from the right angle, arrow going out, so that side must be the C. I'm going to leave that as B just to sort of not confuse myself, and then A along the bottom. So write the formula. So A is 8, B is also 8, and C is X. Okay, so we square the numbers, so 64 plus 64 equals X squared. So that's going to be 128 because the numbers are next to each other, so we can just add them. And then we're going to square root 11 point something. Square root of 128. 11.3. Okay. So we've actually used Pythagoras twice, okay? Once using the rule where you're going to have to subtract at one side, and then the second one is just when you're finding the longest side, so you add the numbers. Okay, I'm just going to quickly squeeze in B here. So they sometimes add in these sorts of questions just to sort of make sure that you know what you're talking about with all parts of triangles. I'm just going to do a little separate diagram. So A, C, D are just representing the corners of the triangle, so it's both triangles together, A, C, D. Okay, sorry, it's a bit squidged. So to find the area of a triangle, you need to have the height, which we worked out as being 8. So again, just make sure that you keep checking your work, because if you got part A wrong, well, this first part wrong, that means you get the second part wrong, which also means you get B wrong. Okay, now obviously if you show workings, you will get some marks, you won't just get nothing, but it's also good to try and make sure you always check your work. So we've got 8 for the height, and we need to know the base. The base of the whole thing would be the 6 plus the 8, which is 14. Okay, so to find the area, you need to multiply those two numbers together. 112, but I better check. Yeah, 112. Okay, but don't forget to divide it by 2. That's the biggest mistake people make all the time. So that's 56 centimetres squared. Okay, so always remember when you're finding the area that you divide by 2.